Hello, hello. Welcome back to Get Organized at Work. My name is Kayla and I am your host. And all right, we need to get down to business and talk about something that's happening in real time. So I recorded an episode concept around the Artemis II mission. And literally today, I just listened to the press conference and something shifted. NASA brought on Dr. Kelsey Young, lunar science lead, and Dr. Lori Glaze talking about medical and human benefits of making this trip around the moon. And for the first time in detail, they didn't just talk about the mission or why it's great to go to the moon. They talked about why it actually matters to humanity in more depth. And I was like, okay, yes, this is it. Welcome to Get Organized at Work. I'm your host, Kayla Fahey-Ahrndt, healthcare leader, mom of three, and your go-to guide for ditching the chaos and taking control of your workday. This is the show where we turn overwhelming to-do lists into clear, actionable plans so you can crush your goals and show up as your best self at work and in your life. Whether you're here for strategies to stay ahead or systems to simplify your workday, you're in the right place. Let's get organized, have some fun, and make this year your best year in your career yet. Let's dive in. Here's what I noticed. In previous press conference essentially launched, they were saying things like, we're going to orbit the moon, and this is a major milestone. But now science objectives are being explained, medical advancements are being discussed, and the human impact of these things is being connected. And they literally asked the media to help them tell the story. And I thought, okay, the value was always there, right? But now communication is catching up. And why now? Because attention on the fact that we're going to the moon has increased. And this is where it matters to you as leaders and professionals, because this happens all the time at work. Your team does incredible work. You improve processes, you reduce risk, you build systems, and you create capacity. But you communicate like, yeah, we completed this initiative, or we finished that project, or we implemented that process. And leadership is like, okay, great job. Cool, thumbs up. And not because that work's not valuable, but because you didn't translate the value. So here's the truth. Value doesn't speak for itself. Leaders have to speak for value. NASA didn't suddenly become more valuable. They just articulated it better. They connected it to people and they invited others to amplify it. And that's your job too. So in this next section of the podcast, I'm going to teach you how to use a template that I've developed to help you communicate this well. But I just wanted to say, if you're feeling a little bit cynical about this, I get it. We all do great work every day and we want people to notice. Like, shouldn't my boss already know that I'm doing this? But the fact is, if you take a step back, your leader doesn't know everything that you do. They don't know all the great things your team is doing. You have to tell them and communicate it to them. Even if you think it's obvious, they have a lot going on and they probably are trying their best to notice, but they're not in all the same conversations or meetings you're in. And so this template hopefully can help you capture the ways that you bring value to the organization and how you reduce risk for the organization. It also kind of helps you amplify and communicate your impact. And at the end of the day, you can use this as a tool to help you get promoted and to have new opportunities come your way by actually showing the evidence of your work and of your amazing leadership skills. So let's ground this in something super practical. Inside my Ultimate OneNote Hub, I have a page called Value and Impact Promotion Template. And this is exactly how you fix this problem we were talking about. Let's walk through it. Column 1 is your goal category. This anchors your work to something bigger. So instead of saying like, random project I worked on, you want to say operational excellence or patient safety or system growth. This is your strategic alignment. And let me just say that executive leaders or directors, whoever is looking at your work to promote you, they need to see this alignment. They need to see that you're on the same page and that you get it. And if you don't articulate in this language, they might not realize the value. Also, we have to remember that leaders at that level also need to be able to read and see things quickly. So if you pare this down very succinctly to patient safety, That means something to them, and that's going to help them understand the goal of your project or the value that you brought. Column 2 is date/timeline. So why does this matter? It shows consistency and it shows sustained impact, not just one-off wins. So make sure you include that. Column 3 is initiative/topic name. So think of this as your headline, right? Think of like what NASA would say, which would be, we're going to the moon, right? And so instead of, process update, say centralized blood bank workflow implementation across 3 sites. Name it like it matters because it does. Column 4 is role. This is where you own your leadership. You don't say like part of a team. You want to add something descriptive like directed cross-functional implementation or designed and executed system workflow. Column 5 is really important, and this is the value demonstrated. This is where most people stay super surface level, but I want you to go deep. So instead of something generic like improved efficiency, you want to say reduced turnaround time or increased capacity or improved team workflows or enhanced patient experience. Spell it out. And I will also encourage you to keep it concise because in the next section, we're going to add the data. So you don't need it in this column unless it really adds something spicy to it and you feel like it has to be there. All right, column 6 is ROI or return on investment. This is your power column, and this is what executives like to see. Their job is to mitigate risk for the organization and also to make sure that they know how quickly the work we're doing is going to have a return. So this is where you include your percent improvements, your actual data on time saved, your cost avoided, your cost savings, or your capacity gained, things like that. So an example would be reduced turnaround time by 30%. Or another example would be increased infusion capacity by 20%. And finally, column 7 is summary. This is where you outline your impact in 1 to 2 sentences. Keep it concise, but also descriptive. So this is your Artemis moment. This is where you bring it all together. So here's a couple examples. Quote, streamlined X process, reducing turnaround time by 30% and improving patient access to timely care. Or, quote, implemented centralized workflow, resulting in faster treatment readiness and reduced risk during urgent transfusion scenarios. Do you get the picture? So it's kind of a goal. Like if you were to write a goal around these, you'd make it smart, right? So all of those components, but sharing as outcomes, the real tangible benefits that you created by doing this project. What value or did you add to the org? What risk did you mitigate? What return did you have on investing your time and the efforts of doing this work? So let's map this back to Artemis. How is this relatable, right? So before in the initial press conferences, they kept saying things like, well, we're flying around the moon. And when media would ask, like, why is this important to human beings? They would say fluffy things like, well, we just want to get people excited about science. And while that's awesome, people who are excited and can be really good proponents and advocates to this work want to hear more detail. So now they're talking about science objectives, real visualizations they're going to be doing when they go around the moon on April 6th, which is so exciting. They're talking about medical advancements, even shared stories about how they practice giving life support on the mission, which, if you think about it, how do you do CPR in space, right? The human benefits to this mission and future preparations for taking samples from the moon, landing there, establishing a space on there. And so they move from we're doing this activity to the impact. And then they invited amplification of that message from the media and everybody who is watching online. So here's what I want you to take with you. Your work is likely already valuable. In fact, I'm sure it is. But if you don't communicate it clearly, it will be overlooked. So don't wait for attention like NASA may have in this instance. I know there were great people working on all of this, but to someone like me who is really interested in this, but for some reason it didn't pop up on my socials, let's create the attention for your work proactively. Let's use your work, tell the story, show the value, highlight the risk you reduced. That's truly leadership here. So I want to let you know, if you already have the Ultimate OneNote Hub, go to your value and impact page. It's in the performance section and you can start filling it in. I'll be talking about it on my socials, and I will be creating a demo video on how to use the value and impact page soon on my YouTube channel. So once I have that, I'll link that in the description below, and I'll send an email if you already have the OneNote Hub. If you don't, I encourage you, check out the link in the description below. You can grab the Ultimate OneNote Hub, which includes the value and impact page, or another option to have proximity to me and to other leaders who are part of my community and already have the hub is to join my Get Organized at Work podcast community. For a monthly investment, you get access to the community, all of our monthly member lives. We just did one. It was awesome. It was great to have people on live to ask me questions and think about the OneNote Hub differently and talk about organization. And you have access to all of my courses that I've produced. There's an awesome 6-module course inside my community right now, going over all the different elements of organizing your work, from mindset to templates, et cetera, et cetera. There's a private podcast feed, all that jazz. So the Ultimate OneNote Hub is included in that membership. So either you can just purchase it outright, you can take my ideas and create your own, or join our community and get access to it. I would love to see you there. So this is how you start building your case for a promotion, for influence, for leadership visibility. All right. Thank you so much for listening. If this podcast was helpful for you, I would love it if you shared it with a colleague. Maybe left me a rating or review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And I will see you in the next episode next week. Take care. Bye-bye.